So, good afternoon. Welcome to our Mother's Day edition on CDAT HR Digest. Just like we've been bringing to you over the last couple of weeks, we are doing same this time around, and this edition is specifically on in commemoration to what our mothers have done. You are welcome to this session. I want to take this opportunity to thank CDAT HR Consult who have organized these sessions with us over the last couple of weeks. I have on the line with me some seasoned HR practitioners who would help us to do justice to our discussion today. Greetings to all of you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are participating from. My name is Kojo Dankwa Amponsa. I've been in the HR space for about 10 years and still counting. Have worked with a number of popular organizations. Um, Let me begin by allowing my guests to introduce themselves. So I have on the line with me Solomon. I have Elizabeth on the line as well, and then um, I have Yvonne as well. So let me begin with Solomon. No, let me begin with the mothers. Let me begin with the mothers. The mothers should begin the introduction, and then Solomon will come in. So let me begin with Yvonne. Yvonne Redu Akpabli. Please introduce yourself.
Okay, thank you, Kojo. My name is Yvonne Akpabli. I like to be called Ama Adiepena. I'm married with children, an HR practitioner. I have this small NGO that helps needy girls and families with pad and used items. I just love life and having fun and helping other people also grow in the HR space. So that's
Thank you so much, Yvonne. Solomon, our participants are watching
Yes.
and they want to know who Solomon is.
All right. So, Solomon Mahini Yvonne, how you doing? And happy Mother's Day to you.
I'm fine, Solo. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Yes. So, Solomon from Wilma, Africa. I've been in the HR space for over 14 years and still counting. Worked in the public service. I've been in the marine and shipping, moved to pharmaceutical, and now I'm at the FMCG. So, I love when we want to talk about HR and the need to let people feel engaged in workplaces. Married with three boys, so I've left them this afternoon for them to be wishing their mom a Mother's Day and to enjoy with them, whilst I also take time here to share knowledge with our colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Solomon. You are welcome. Yvonne, you are welcome. I have on the line with me, also with me,
Thank you.
Elizabeth Ann. Lizanne, please help us to introduce yourself.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Liziane Kwabeji. I work with GAMI and GAMI Group. I'm an employment relations and dispute resolution consultant and also a member of International Coaching Federation. I'm a transformational coach. And I'm a proud mother of three. Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you so much, Lizzie. You are welcome. All right, so let's
Thank
begin
you.
our discussion. This conversation about diversity and inclusion at the workplace. I think in the last couple of years or in the recent years, it has gained significant attention in in the workplace space, partly because of social and cultural shifts. So you are looking at societal movements and cultural shifts that have brought issues of diversity to the forefront of public discourse. You can also be looking at areas around legal and then regulatory requirements. So even in our Labor Act, in terms of recruitment, there are caveats around this. You know, you cannot discriminate against people based on age, gender, etc., and all of that. And so, over the last couple of years, yes, the subject of diversity and inclusion has gained significant attention. I Let me begin by telling this story. I think I posted it on LinkedIn. I think about somewhere last year, I had a mother employee who had an admission to the Ghana bar. Now, the requirements were quite tight, so it meant that um, for some of the days she had to go to school, and then the business also had to look at letting her work and all of that. She had a baby, and looking at the payment of school fees and all of that. So this discussion was brought to my attention as the HR of the business. And then I was looking at all of these things. The fact that she's a mother, she needs to support herself. She also has to develop her career. She was a good talent too. So we're looking at all of that. And then the business decided that, okay, why don't we give her the privilege to have flexible working hours so that instead of the permanent contract, it is converted to um, a contract employee, and then the days that she comes to work, those days are calculated and paid for her. And she was very excited about that decision by the business. So she didn't lose her job. She continued to build on her career until later on in the course of the year, she had to proceed on other career aspirations. But this was something that was done for her, and so today she's always grateful for that initiative. So once again, our viewers, those of us connected on Facebook, on LinkedIn, wherever you are connected from, or at you are welcome as we have this insightful discussion. So let me begin with the mothers, then I'll come to Solomon. Diversity and inclusion at the workplace for mothers. What do you have to say about that by way of introduction? Let me begin with Lisiane.
Thank you very much, and a good evening to your listeners once again. The issue of diversity and inclusion has to do with the recent trends in the world of work. The days where we used to have work roles that were and positions in the C-suite that was designated only for male employees has changed. And if you look at recent ILO report and other workforce research, you'd realize that the trends have changed and there is a current call for inclusion and diversity to bring about innovation in the workplace. And I'm a consultant. We consult for several multinational, both private and also public institutions in Ghana. And I realize, even with the story that you just shared with us, that HR professionals, and for that matter, employers, are really struggling with this aspect of work engagement. You find situations where you interview a lady, and then, especially, it used to be very prevalent in the banking sector, but now there is a shift. Some 2 years ago, I got a call from the HR director for one of the biggest state banks. And he was like, we have this lady we have engaged. She's a good talent. But then once she was in her second, going to third month of probation, we realized that she's pregnant. And we have drafted her contract letter and we want to terminate because she's not yet confirmed. And I asked, why do you want to terminate? Is it because of the pregnancy? Does she fit into the role that you are engaging her for? And he said yes. What kind of policies or practices or systems do you have in your workplace to be able to aid her through this process for you to get the needed outcome and output and performance returns on this talent that you deem very fit for the role, but for the issue of her pregnancy? So there are a lot of challenges that comes with it. And I think that is why it is important that professionals like us should sit and have a roundtable conversation around it. What is it about diversity and inclusion? What kind of systems or policies do we need to put in place? What are the best practices? How can we add value to create an enabling environment, especially for female workers. So I think I'll pause here and then hand over to Yvonne.
Thank you, Lizzie.
Good. Thank you so
So,
much, Lysiane. Let's hear from Yvonne.
women, we have three key roles we play. The
Hmm.
productive, two, I mean, sorry, the productive and reproductive. Unfortunately, in our current economic system, you can't put the reproductive on hold, neither can you put the other on hold. You are having babies and you need to pay your rent, you need to pay your fees, and all those things. And
Okay.
so we do it concurrently. These are the people who have provided the workers you have now and will provide the workers you will need in future. These are the people who are nurturing your next generation workers. So what do you put in place to make them do these two roles, the productive and reproductive roles, together in a way that does not affect your productivity, because the business also exists to make profit, and then make them have that well-being that they also need to have. It's about understanding this aspect of womanhood. Most men thrive in the workplace because a certain woman, and I'm referring to the married ones, is sacrificing for them to rise up.
Hmm.
So, if that is happening, what can the workplace also do to help this woman also to thrive and grow? And there are so many things we have to do. The first thing is to understand these two people, the man and the woman, they start on different grounds. The man starts from here, the woman starts from here. And the demands on the woman is more than just the demand from the husband. The children are demanding, in-laws are demanding, the workplace is demanding, her own studies and growth is demanding, and those who are religious, the church or the mosque is also demanding. And this woman is expected to still be at her optimum best to deliver. So these days, you hear some offices have creches or baby corners in the office where the woman can bring the baby to work, because some of us, our mothers are still working. So they can't take the baby and take care of them in the house. And there are women who are also quite skeptical about these creches in town. So if you have one in the office, every hour she can pop in to check up on the baby and do your work. There's also long maternity leave that some companies are giving women now. Some companies also give extra packages for women to go to school with shorter bonding periods, all sort of things that we companies are doing now to make women flourish. And like Lizzie said, these days we hardly hear of when she came to the interview, she was pregnant, and so we can't take her. Why can't you take her? You are only thinking that after 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, she will take 7 months off duty, 5 months of duty for maternity leave. I started work in a company when I was 7 months pregnant. I gave birth on Saturday. I was at work on Friday. I spent 1 month at home and resumed work with the baby, closing at 1 p.m. till my maternity was over. Why did I sacrifice my full maternity? When the company gives to you, you also give back. You feel like giving back. So if your pregnancy is not giving you any stress like mine didn't, why can't you sacrifice? Most of the time, these men are the leaders and they see issues like pregnancy like as a sickness. They see child caring, especially when the babies are small, as a handicap. And so the woman is treated in that image, that concept,
Hmm.
that there's a certain something is lacking. If you bring her, that wholeness will be missed. And so, due to these reasons, it will not be brought. But, like I've said, as practitioners, as business owners, we should understand times are changing. Unless these things make the woman so crippled, even in that state, there are companies who are doing beautiful things for such women in the name of corporate branding. So, you want to work for such a company. You want to work for them. If I want to work for you, my current pay is, let's say, 6,000, and then you tell me your pay package is 4,000, but the HR lets me know that here, when you are pregnant and you are 7 months, we recruit an assistant for you. You can bring your baby to work until the baby is 1 year. And why wouldn't I take the 4K and do it? And I worked in a company like that. I had all my three kids there. Where am I going to? Antenatal days is off for you. Postnatal days is off for you. So where am I going to? You see, but another company is so strict with these things. And when they give you the 4K, even though the company is very close to your house, you will not take it. So some of these measures we put in place to help women in the name of diversity can also help you build a good brand image out there that people will want to work for you. And for this particular company, when you go there, a lot of the women are still there because they feel indebted to their companies. They want to stay faithful because of what they got. So this is the bit I'll say for introductory purposes.
Thank you so much, Yvonne. Solomon, let's hear from you.
All right. So I think my colleagues have said it all, but I would rather look at it from my career as an HR person, from all the companies that I said I've worked in, and then look at it again from the how D and DI, or let's say DEI, has evolved over the period. I think over the years, if I could talk about the last 14 years that I said I've been in HR, there's been tremendous improvement when it comes to women in the workspace, and then the support businesses would give to them. From the examples they've given, I quite remember in my early working years, I was in charge of recruitment and then placement. And I had interviewed a lady that we were employing. She had gone on her medicals, but we never got the medical report. So it was at a point during her um, employment period, within I think a month or two, where business got wind of the fact that she was pregnant. This became an issue because, like I'm saying, this is like in the um, mid late 2000s. So it was a big issue. And we did our own investigation through the hospital that did the test and all. Apparently, the hospital had indicated that she was pregnant, and the lady was also afraid to talk about it. So, therefore, she kept it until they started giving her the usual pregnancy issues that women go through. So, she brought it up, and as a business, we looked at it and felt that okay, can we halt her um, probation period, let her go through her pregnancy processes, give birth, and then when she comes back, she still continue to work. And I can tell you that for over the last 10 years or so, if I'm right, the lady might have spent about 6, 7 years in the workplace and she's still there.
Wow.
But I know
Wow.
very well of situations like that where immediately, because of the clause of termination at will during probation, the employer could have easily just terminated without any cause. But the lady is actually working and is even in the legal department. So these are the evolving trends I've seen with HR when it comes to diversity and inclusion. And
Wow.
as business and as HR person, I could say that I have a bias towards women because of the space that I found myself, where I feel women have great potential and we should bring them on board in terms of leadership. So, again, on another company I work with, we found out that women were quite meticulous when it comes to a certain process area in the business. Initially we couldn't understand why women were dominating, so we gave a try to men, and it was just about packaging of products. And
Hmm.
I can tell you that when we gave the men the chance, you will count a product that has to be 10 in a pack and you get about
mm,
11 or 8. But for the
mm.
women, it was always on point. So attention to detail and all. And for that matter,
I think we have lost Solomon. But basically, what Solomon was telling us is that women bring a lot of impact into the workplace. I think today I was reading an article, and the bottom line was that women are multipliers, and that's very true. I have had quite a number of experiences around me at the workplace where you see women doing so much in the space. The example Yvonne gave, some of the challenges that they face, they go through. In the midst of that, they still have to come to the workplace and do all that is required of them. Quickly, let's look at. I think you mentioned some of them, but by way of outline, can we outline some of the common challenges that
Interventions.
mothers
Sorry.
face at the workplace, and how HR policies can be used to address these things so that they can have work and family, they can have a balanced work and family responsibilities. I mean, how they can balance both work and then family responsibilities. Can we look at some of these challenges and how they can HR can help in this area? Any of us can go.
Okay,
Yeah,
then let me
so
start. Oh, sorry. Lizzie, go.
sure.
Hmm,
So there are several challenges that working mothers and women face at the workplace. And
hmm,
key among them is a conscious and unconscious bias, where
hmm,
we have management team members and in some cases employers who have conscious bias about women and work.
hmm,
And I would want to play a 50-50 role in this conversation, a 50
hmm.
50 advocacy. In some cases, it is based on incidences that have happened over the period in certain workplaces that has
Mm,
brought about this bias. That you bring in a woman, they'll be asking for excuses, productivity will come down. That is for some cases. In some cases, you have absolute arrant inefficiency on the part of some women. You
yeah.
have some female workers who are just lazy. So they just come to the workplace interested in their looks and chit chatting and all that, forgetting that I am here to add value. And if I have to find somebody and how who I know and all that. So that is on the extreme side. But we genuinely have very hardworking, very competent, very
Absolutely.
ethical, and very professional women like Yvonne. I want to say like myself, like several other
Absolutely.
women who have worked so hard professionally and added value over time, not only to their lives, but also to the
Mm,
businesses in which they work. So
yeah.
that bias, that conscious and unconscious bias, unconscious because people have had experiences and incidences in the past. When you go onto interview tables, immediately a female
Shows up.
applicant walks, the first thing is, hey, another lady. So that is one. The other one is discrimination.
Yeah.
You have work environment where women are just discriminated against. And you cannot fit into this role because you are a woman. We cannot do this.
I think we've lost Yvonne, probably because of network. Sorry, Lizzie. Lizzie, you are back
Yeah,
online. We can hear you.
yes. So I was talking about that
Discrimination, yeah.
the unconscious bias, yeah, the discrimination, sorry. So women are just discriminated against because we feel if we get you into this role, then we may not be able to get what is expected of the role. And
Mm,
then another challenge is also lack of information. And this is a very big challenge, not just for female workers, for most workers in Ghana, workers who do not know their right. Because I don't know my right, whatever is given to me, whatever treatment at the workplace, I just have to take it. And some of the provisions of the law that has to do with female work, some of them are being given out by employers as incentives or as favors when actually they are right. Just like what Yvonne said earlier. She worked in a place where antenatal days for antenatal checkups, maternity leave, these are your rights. So when you have a work environment, she was fortunate, but I work with several HRs where the HRs themselves are even confused as to, oh, this person just started work for not too long. How many maternity leave days should I give? Oh, we can't do this because she just started. No, that we have a legal framework in the Ghanaian system, industrial and work system, the Labor Law Act 651, and even the new review, the review of the law that is currently going on. The provisions for female work, working with women, employment of women, they are even advocating for 2 extra weeks to the maternity leave. They are even advocating for paternity leave so that
Yeah,
there is some level of support, because the inclusion and diversity that we are talking about is not just for the women, also the men.
absolutely,
It's about
absolutely.
creating enabling environment, having a legal framework within which you have your internal policies, within which those policies must be totally aligned with the law and other regulations, and also not.
Sorry, I think we just lost Lizzie, and Lizzie was talking about lack of information. Ivan, I don't know if you may want to take it from there.
Yeah. So I would look at it from a continuum. For
Yeah.
women, one of the challenges is before, ideally in the ideal situation.
Sorry, we
All right,
lost you.
Lizzie. Yes, we lost Yvonne. Lizzie is back. Lizzie, please wrap up with what you were talking about. We are interested.
Yes, so creating a legal framework at the workplace that is aligned with law, best practice, and then you use those to design policies and systems, working systems that create room for that inclusion and diversity that we're talking about. Another one has to do with the flexibility and family friendly work arrangement. Yvonne has a very wonderful experience, but I don't believe most of our other sisters do have the same, where you have an employer who is understanding enough to create some of these interventions for you.
Yeah.
So I believe that the worker, the HR for that matter, who is the advisor to management, should be able to look out what are some of the interventions that we can put in place for the health protection at work for women. What are some of the interventions that we can have in place to create flexible and family friendly working environments? Another challenge has to do with work schedules. Because it's a Mother Day, I would want to look at women, mothers. When a woman
All right, we lost Lizzie. Let's come back to Yvonne. Yvonne. Yvonne, sorry, you are muted. Yvonne, you are muted. Kindly check it for us.
Oh, okay. I would like to
Yes.
look at it in a continuum. Before one becomes a mother, in the ideal situation, this person
Mm,
should be married. You have
mm,
these young women who are above 25. desperate for marriage, having all sorts of emotional and psychological issues they are dealing with, and the office has no space for them. And this borders on the work schedule that Lizzie said. You have a young woman, and here I would also bring the men. If you are conversant with society, you should know that they will go on dates on Friday. It is not at 4 p.m. that you give them a report to complete.
Hmm.
I mean, it's not normal.
Especially
You
on a
get
Friday.
managers who can't even identify. I mean, Friday, even though the company's policy says it goes at 5, on Fridays,
Hmm.
intentionally make things slow for your people after 12, especially the
Hmm.
single ones.
The
And
truth
then
is
if
that
the
Friday,
married
when it
ones
is
who
after 12, people shut down. That's the truth. I mean,
uh-huh,
after 12, people shut down.
they boot
Um,
off
in
mentally,
their minds,
they
they've
boot off,
closed. Absolutely.
Yvonne,
they've
wait,
closed.
Yvonne, let me just share a situation where I had this young lady. We were in the office, and 5 p.m. she comes to me that, sir, my work is done now. I'm going to watch movie with my boyfriend. He's here, and then I would
Oh,
like to introduce him to you.
Amazing.
And and the truth is, I think in all these things, building relationship with your employees are also key, so that
Yeah.
in the absence of even policies, as managers you could give certain rooms or certain privileges to your employees, because you know how well they can support you in the business.
Yeah.
I work with one company that on Fridays from 12, I myself will start playing music with the team. I say that, hey, let's start winding off because Monday is going to be hot for us. So
Mm.
therefore, let's start to wind down with this. So these are some of the things, and I think businesses are now aligning with the fact that there should be some level of women at the top echelons of positions. So
Mm.
um, there should also be conscious effort that we put these things into policies. Other than that, there will be a bias where maybe a manager in a department is giving off these privileges to his employees or her employees, and another is not doing, and that could also bring conflict. So this is just a way to add to what Yvonne was saying on the need that Fridays you shouldn't pile your people up to the extent that during their productive time that they have to now be looking for their life partners and all, it is all about work, work, work. Yeah.
Work and
Absolutely.
happiness.
Absolutely. Thank
Yes,
you so
yes,
much,
yes,
Yvonne,
yes, yes.
for that example. Um, Yvonne, please, let's come back to you. Hello, Yvonne, if you can hear me. Okay, so we'll go back to Liziane and then come back to Yvonne once her network picks up. Lizzie, you were talking about some of the interventions.
Yes. Very interesting contributions from Yvonne and Solo. I think we have Yvonne back. Maybe I
Yeah,
should
yeah.
ask
okay.
for her.
Let's go back to Yvonne.
So I was saying that that
Hmm.
reasonable work schedules, and it starts by making managers know their people. You should know that I am single and searching, or I am single and I'm not interested in searching. You should know where I stay and my circumstances. There are young women who are staying with non-relatives because they've moved from the villages to come to Accra for greener pastures. These people are doing all sort of things to them in the name of accommodation. Are you even aware? Can they even open up to you? No. And then those managers who don't like to ruffle feathers would hide under policy. The policy was made for human beings.
For human
These are
beings.
your people who are doing your work for you. If you are practicing proper performance management, you should know that it is your goals that you've shared for these people. How do you motivate them, care for them so they deliver? Then there's also the challenge of those who become pregnant out of wedlock. And this is where Lizzie's bias thing and discrimination comes in. The Christians and Muslims start seeing this woman as committing the worst sin of all. You are also doing some. Yours has just not ended up in pregnancy. What about those even causing abortions? This person has been bold enough to hold this baby. Who could be the next president, the next inventor of something? And the person is seen as the most devilish woman, and people think she can't be trusted, she doesn't have integrity, and she's loose. Meanwhile, her performance is still sterling. So on the day she's ill or she's not feeling too well because of the pregnancy, that same understanding that will be given to Mrs. ABC, she will not get it because she's a miss and she's pregnant. The policies and education must be for these people as well. She's a
Absolutely.
woman. How she got pregnant has nothing to do with you,
You
unless
just
it's a
have to be professional.
you know, unless it's
Yeah.
a very Christian or Muslim organization. Once it's a conservative one, allow her to be. If she is being professional, she's still delivering, she's working within parameters. Don't let the fact that she is pregnant out of wedlock be an issue. And these women, because they already know that I have done something that society frowns upon, tries to make up for it through their performance. They hardly fall sick. Sometimes they even don't take permission for antenatal. I don't know how they do it. But that two I have encountered worked so well that you don't have anything to say about them as far as their work delivery is concerned. The next batch is the women, the married ones, who go through miscarriages,
Yeah.
because it's also part of the
Yeah.
motherhood. What support are we giving them? And they will say that, oh, since she didn't get the baby, after 2 weeks, she should
Mhm.
resume. Are you thinking of the
Mhm.
emotional, the trauma she's going through? When you miscarry, you blame yourself,
A
first and
lot goes in
foremost.
there. Yeah.
You think you ate something or drank something or made a movement that caused the baby to come out. And as Africans, you start thinking of the family people in your village. What are they stepping on in your stomach that brought your baby out? And then if you don't have supportive people around you, they start thinking all sorts of things and saying all sorts of things about you. This woman needs time to heal.
Mm.
So, if even after 2 weeks she wants to return, what measures are we putting in place in the office?
Yeah.
The last thing, I don't know for others, but for me, when I miscarried, I didn't want people to pity me and be like, oh, the next one will be fine. I didn't want it. I wanted them to just carry on with work as if nothing has happened to me. And then there was this woman who called me and tried preaching to pray for me. I didn't want that. I had moved on. So what do we put in place for such women? Before that woman returns, HR, talk to her team. Let them understand. In fact, call that woman and ask her, how do you want people to handle your return? She will tell you. Then you talk to her team, her manager, and then the broader staff. Just as we announce deliveries, even though you didn't announce the miscarriage, info no get legs. It be okroma for the carrier. People have heard it already because her friend has a friend who has a friend in the office. The news is all over. How do
Yeah.
you treat it? That is not the time to bring a doctor to talk to women about miscarriages. It is insensitive. That is not the time to celebrate somebody's twins. It's insensitive. How do you handle it? Then there are those who go through the pregnancy proper. How do you manage them? Lizzie has said a lot about them. Solomon has said a lot about these women. But we should let them. There's a national policy that fits the company.
Mm.
Antenatal, the woman has to go for antenatal once every month till the pregnancy is 6 months,
Mm.
twice every month till the pregnancy is 9 months, and then in the 9 months, once every week. After 39 weeks, every day she must report to the hospital. Do you have provisions for that? It's not there. You will get people saying, when I went to her office, she was sleeping. She is pregnant, for heaven's sake. What do you want her to do after her banku and okra stew in the afternoon? And so, what the other place I had my three children, what they used to do, it's now that I'm realizing that it was a deliberate thing to keep me awake after lunch. This one will bring sugar cane. You can't chew sugar cane and sleep. Just about the time you are finishing, somebody has brought you yogurt, hard one. As you are biting the ice, your eyes are awake and you are working. Okay. Then somebody brings you corn and granite. It is just now that I realized it was a plot by the managers to keep me awake after my lunch. Okay. And they bring these things, and the way they present it makes you know that we understand your state. You have all these cravings, and we are here to help you. The next stage is the delivery. Okay. We even call them after they've told us we've had the baby, and we send the congratulatory messages. That is the end. Nobody follows up. Nobody checks on the woman and the baby, only waiting for the week of resumption. Please be reminded that you are resuming on the Wednesday, the 4th. That is it. We do, and even on the return, it's a challenge for a woman to leave the baby for the first time. If you don't have a crash where
Yeah.
the woman can come with the baby, that how do you help her to cope with it? Then when she returns, she wants to do this. They say, "Oh, because of your condition, we've given it to Yvonne to do. Because of your condition, we've given it to Solo to do." Then she's asking herself, "So because I've given birth, I'm no more human. I can't be productive again." There's a meeting she has to attend, then the manager will say, "No, don't go, and you don't worry, because of the baby we want this person to go, and you don't worry." It is, yes, you are showing some care, but how do you handle it so she doesn't feel because I have a baby now I have issues? Then there's the other issues of PTA attendance, children's visits in the secondary schools, those with the teenagers. My child is sick, my husband is sick. All those things also come in. And these are all things that embodies a woman's life in the workplace. What and these are the challenges. So they are real also. They are very, very, very real. You will be in the office, you went in the morning, everything was fine. That is what the fraudsters are now using as well. Then you will be called that your child started running temperature and then convulsing. They sent him to this and this hospital, and you are shaking. You are calling people who are closer to help. No one is picking the call, and your manager is at the door. Is the report ready? He doesn't even notice that you are suddenly sweating and that there could be something wrong. And these are all very, very real challenges that we need
Yvonne,
to put.
let me interrupt you at this point. Let me interrupt you a little at this point. I think that awareness like this is very important. Personally, about 2 years ago,
Oh,
I was
Kojo is breaking.
working with
Yeah, could you your break?
one HR manager, one of
Can you type it
my
in the
bosses.
chat box, because you are breaking seriously?
Yeah, so Yvonne, just wrapping
He
up on what you were
actually
saying,
brought my mind
the creating the
on
workplace, creating a
these things
workplace
because
culture. We are
the
losing him.
wife had gone through some of the challenges you are talking about. During experienced anything like this before? Yes. Welcome back, Tim. Is it better? Can I be heard?
Much better.
Yes, yes, much better.
Wonderful. I was talking about an experience I had with one of my bosses. I think about 3 years or four ago. So, with all the things that you were saying, Yvonne, I was saying that some of these things, until you have the awareness about them, you may not even know that you are causing problems. My one of my bosses at the time was telling me
Yeah,
that
very true.
he used to be indifferent about discussions
Very
like
true.
this and his dealings with female employees until he got married and the wife when the wife got pregnant, the challenges that the wife went through, he properly understood what it means to be flexible be flexible with female employees. I think that awareness is important. You have managers who have never had experiences like this, either by training or relations. And at the workplace, you see them put a certain character. You have people, ladies calling unwell, and in their minds, this is a flimsy excuse. This is another excuse to stay away from home, or something of that sort. So I think awareness about discussions like this are very important, so that managers especially can align with things like this. Let me take Solomon. Solomon hasn't spoken so much. Let me take Solomon. Solomon, what strategies can HR professionals implement to create a supportive and inclusive work environment for mothers who have returned from maternity leave? I think we've said a number of things prior to maternity leave. Now they have come. What kind of interventions can we put in place to support them?
Okay. So thanks very much again, Kojo. I think my colleagues have said a lot, and I was actually enjoying it coming from the background that or the fact that they are women and they understand the issues much better. But I'm happy you also mentioned the fact about you experiencing it to understand some of these dynamics. So, yes, when you are not married as either a male or female, and you have employees, women going through some of these things, you may be seen as insensitive or you may not understand them. But you would notice that if you've experienced or had it where, as a man, I have a meeting at 9 a.m. and at 2 a.m., I'm taking my child to the hospital and I get back to home at 7 a.m. to get ready and go for the meeting, then you will understand some of these dynamics when it comes to women who are pregnant and even after childbirth. Um, I would say that yes, businesses should build policies around making sure that returning mothers are advocated for. One thing we, for example, in my organization, we've done, which I'm a patron of, is about a women's club that we've created for mothers. So there are senior management members who are mothers themselves, and then at regular intervals, we invite experts to come and speak with them, be it medical doctors, advising them on what they need to do and all. And again, as business, we have a small package that we give to women who give birth because of maybe our line as FMCG, where we have those products as washing, soaps, detergent, and all. So we give those products as needs for women when they give birth. And then again, we look at creating, for example, expressing rooms for women. I never knew some of these challenges until I noticed one of my employee going into her car at time intervals. So I called and I asked her, she was a nursing mother, and then she had to explain to me that, okay, this is what goes on. Then I'm like, oh, really? Then there's the need for us to create such a place for women in the business so
Mm.
that at least they can go to those places and be very comfortable and take care of whatever they have to do because these are natural causes and They cannot do anything to change it, but to go along with that. So for me, these are some of the strategies that as employees we should be, and we should be quite focused on that because, like Yvonne said in her introduction, there are certain natural causes with women that we cannot change unless the woman decides that, okay, I'm not going to reproduce or produce, or for me, I want to stay single or whatever. But if that doesn't happen, then as business, we must create a room for that. I think Liziane mentioned the provisions in the Yet to Be Labor Act, which seeks to give extended leave and all. As business, yes, we can also create that, and we have it that at least for even for men to support their wives, there is a paternity side of things that we give to men because at
Mm.
the initial stages, the baby and the mother will need their husbands or their fathers in their lives. So we do this, but there's always this cliche from employees that even when you give the men, that is when they drive around roaming and that they will not
You
stay
don't
at
support the
home.
women.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
there
they
is
roam
also
in
the
town.
so there's a conscious effort by the business to make sure that in as much as we are bringing this policy in, for men in terms of paternity leave, you guide them or educate them as to the usefulness because it brings about bonding between the mother, the child, and then the father. So this is what I
Mm.
will talk about in terms of some of the strategies I feel business should look at and have in their policies to support mothers. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Solomon. All right, so before we proceed, let me take a moment to acknowledge our participants. I have Eyonam Akwebia. She said, I'm watching from Tema. Great topic for discussion. Hannah also Afriye, she said, I'm watching from Ahafo. Good evening. Good to see you all. Happy Mother's Day to you, madams. So, Lizzie Ann and then Yvonne, happy Mother's Day to you from Zachary Salamat. James Dasino said, I'm watching from Asante Achim Agogo. I have a J. Damte Samuel. He said, I'm watching live from Sunyane. Um, Gigams Medicals. Please tell Yvonne that her clients are watching from this side too. We are grateful. Yvonne, that goes for you. Mavis from Techiman. Good evening. I'm Efia watching you live from Accra. Great submission, Madam Liziane. We know building the HR policy is progressive. Do we wait till we have this flexible clear cut policy for potential mothers before we recruit any? We don't want to inconvenience women. Somebody is asking. Maybe we can come back to that. Um, Samuel again is saying, and potential mothers at the same time. We don't want to do this bias recruitment based on gender. So where do we start from? Samuel will come back to you on that. I have Gadana from Kumasi, Victoria and Tom Nyama watching live from Esutrare Junction. Thank you so much, our viewers. Thank you for your contribution. Okay, so let's proceed with what Solomon was talking about, some of the interventions. Are there any additional interventions that we can put in place too? Our cherished participants, this discussion is a very peculiar one, and we want you to give us some additional 20 minutes to, be able to hit it on the nail. So please, we indulge your participation. Lizzie Ann, if you can share with us any additional interventions that can be put in place by the employer for women who have come back from maternity leave. I think you are muted.
Thank you very much, Kojo.
Yeah.
Solo has said quite a lot. I'll just add up to what other interventions employers should put in place. Another has to do with the role of HR becoming an advocate to try and
Mm.
create a workplace culture and the business case for maternity protection, where we will put in place systems where both management, and when I say management, right from the top to supervisors to line managers, you would find out in most businesses or organizations that top management is very supportive. But when you come down to their direct supervisors, it's very tough. That's where you have all the issues. So HR has to create a workplace culture where there is support for maternity protection. And other colleagues, like Yvonne was saying, within the workspace can provide some level of support for female workers who are either pregnant, who are now returning back from leave, or transitioning. I call it transitioning. And mind you, pregnancy is not a sickness, neither is maternity or motherhood and everything that comes with it. So that culture and awareness, and it can come through training, it can come through debats, it can come through small segments, departmental engagement, to kill that stigmatization and help to provide a supporting role. Another intervention would also be to create employee assistance programs. Solomon mentioned one. They have a women club. We have institutions, professional institutions like Supreme Healthcare and Management Services. There are several others where they provide coaches, they provide counselors, they provide clinical psychologists, and several other professionals, including legal support, legal aid. So we need to create employee assistance programs. If you don't have money to bring in a consultant, you can also go online. There are several HR knowledge based platforms where you can look at what are some of the employee assistance interventions, what programs can we put in place. And remember, don't just design something because others are doing it. You need to make sure that it's a right fit for your work environment. Every industry
Absolutely.
and what works best for them. You look at the structure, the operations of your business, and then you can find fit in and see what would work best for the people that we work with. Another one is to consciously address both unconscious and conscious biases. And that has to come with a lot of education. When Yvonne was citing examples in her submission, I was just smiling. And all I was thinking in my head is the HR just has to be professional. We come to the workplace and we leave all our religious biases outside the door. I'm a very spiritual person. I am very principled. I go by certain principles. But when I come to the workplace, I don't bring my principles into the lives of the people. The workplace is governed by a certain kind of principles. That is why we have workplace culture. That is why we have policies. That is why we have systems in place. So when you come to the workplace, you work within those set boundaries that have been designed for that particular workplace. If you want to provide any kind of advice or whatever, you can do it on the sidelines. But I can just tell you, be a professional. It's about time HRs be professionals. Our role is to add value to the lives of people. And like my sister said, women have two roles. We have a reproductive role and a productive role. And for you to fully perform at your optimum best in the productive role, the employer must be interested in addressing what are some of the things we can use to help you. That interest must be seen, care must be shown, policies must support, systems must be designed, trainings must be put in place to support women, female workers during their reproductive state. Because remember, it is just a transition. Being a mother, maternity, and all, it's just a transition. It's within 1 year to 2 years, and you have transitioned. So, how do we as a workplace support our female workers to transition? Because if we don't put in those support systems in place, what would happen is if that transition is not done well, the reproductive phase would either advance and add value to the female worker to be able to add more value to your business, or it will mar them. And she'll come back if it's not handled well, and she'll become a very unproductive worker. So it is our role as management, it is our role, the role of HRs, to put in these systems to support so that female workers feel a part of the business. Once they feel as a part of the business by the things, interventions that you have put in place, automatically they'll care for your business and they'll run with it and they will become your advocates. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lizian. We are
Could you,
going to, yes,
could you,
Solo.
sorry, let me just add a little to it that there should be
Yeah.
that conscious effort to engage women in the workplace and also to
Mm,
employ women. I think I had mentioned it earlier about some of the key things from HR perspective I've seen women do. Um, Without any data, I can still commit to say that when you look at productivity with women, let's say women and men in the workspace, women are quite committed when it comes to delivering or deliverables. Um, and again, for women who are in the transition after birth, there should be that conscious effort to even work on them psychologically because you realize that it is a phase that they have gone through which they've never had before. Therefore, when they come back, you will not see them as the same way that you
the
knew
same.
them. You see,
Absolutely.
so there must be that conscious effort to see how you transition them. Other than that, there would always be that when you get the alpha females, then you already will be saying that they don't respect, they don't do this, but it will be them talking about their right as well in the space of
Yeah,
business. So this is what I'll add
absolutely.
to it. Yeah.
Absolutely. I know Yvonne want to say something, but Yvonne, let me take a quick
I just
commercial break.
say thank you, Solo. That's
Let me just,
psychological. Thank you. Hmm.
let me just take a quick commercial
Okay.
break.
Okay.
In the upcoming week, we have some programs that see that HR Consults is organizing. There is a program on practical Excel training. It's going to happen twice. The first one is on Saturday, 25th of May, and then the next one is again on Saturday, June 1st, 2024. So if you want to register for this training program, you can call the number 0244 See that HR Consults is online. You can search with their website address, and then you can get through to see that HR Consults. There is also another training program on using analytics to measure HR's contribution. That is taking place on 26th to 28th of June 2024. Again, like I said, you can contact them through the website or through the telephone number 0244 And then there is a professional HR certification. This is an international one ongoing. If you are interested in an APHRI or PHRI or SPHRI, the second cohort begins from 8th of June. And so you can contact CDAT HR consults and then you'll be sorted. Thank you so much. Now, let me come back to Yvonne on let me come back to Yvonne on one of the questions our participants asked. But this time around, I just want us to add a little twist to it. So, Yvonne, how can HR department ensure that hiring and promotion processes are fair and unbiased towards mothers? I think earlier in our conversation, we said a number of things that are done against women, even in areas like this. But how can we support them and how can the process become fair in hiring, in promotion, so that the biasness is removed?
It starts by first understanding that the Constitution of the nation detests all forms of discrimination. Then
Mm,
you follow it up with your policies. Now, you go to certain companies where they have these beautiful policies, but they will still be discriminating. Why? Because the HR has not trained the managers on how to implement these policies, and there's also not the willpower and consistency from the top. So, an instance is where somebody, you want to adhere to the policy where it says that you should advertise and shortlist. You've done your shortlisting, then somebody from the top or even the recruiting manager brings you
mm,
a name that add it,
yeah.
or on the day of interview, the manager says, "Ah, I've seen one of the ladies, she's pregnant. Me, I can't work with such a person. Oh, so take the person out." So the panel will bring this person in, ask unrelated questions that they know the lady cannot answer, just because they want to take the person out of the whole process. So when you have the policy, you must adhere to the policy. There should be
Mm,
consistency in implementing it. And it starts by educating the managers who administer the policy, educating the staff to know it. When your employees know the policy and you are doing something contrary, they can easily let you know that this is not fair at your their
mm,
best. Or those who don't want to speak up, like the typical Ghanaian, they just leave, they resign. And before you see, your top performers are leaving you, because usually they are the ones who leave first. The rest will just be there and see what would happen. Okay. So it's important to have these policies and make sure it's implemented. The next step is what I call the soft part of HR. This may not be in policy, this may not be written down anywhere in your code of ethics, but you should still implement them. For example, the staff has gone on maternity, is pregnant and had a miscarriage. There may not be any written down process on what to do, but as a practitioner, as the person's manager, on the grounds of empathy and goodness, kindness, you should call this person, you should visit this person, you should sensitize the person's manager and team to know that Yvonne is returning to work after a miscarriage. Yvonne doesn't want you to treat her this way. Don't use such words. Don't do this. Don't do that. This may not be written anywhere. It is just you being kind, and I call it the soft part of our work. It's not, it's like a staff who takes permission to write an exam, and then when he finishes the exam and you call, "Oh, Yvonne, how was the exam?" And I say, it didn't go well." Okay. There may not be written anywhere how you should treat such a person. Maybe for the past ones, you can announce it to staff, and then, but the one who didn't pass, what do you do? These are the soft parts that may not be in policy. And so, what you do is that you call the person, encourage the person. It is well. I can't say that insioni na ehwie egu enyina ne mpae is the water that has poured. The pot, once the pot is still there, we can go and fetch again. It is
absolutely.
you. How do you put this in policy? It's not there.
Mm,
So HR practitioners should know this soft part. How do we know it? It's through networking, through such
mm,
sessions that organizes, you pick things and then you use it to train your
mm,
managers, because most of these managers have risen through their technical expertise. Finance
absolutely.
officer, finance supervisor, finance manager, CFO. When it comes to finance, they are up there. But when it comes to people management, they are very poor. Most of them
Yeah.
are doing what they learned from their managers. So if it was bad, they are bringing it. If it is good too, they are bringing it. We need to train them to understand these things, like the example of the 5 o'clock work for the young person. I mean, 4 o'clock, we have booked our table at Honeysuckle. So all these things you are talking about, the reports and the charts, we are not hearing. It passes here and goes out there. But how does the manager know if you HR, you don't tell them? And then this Gender issues also borders on just the generational gaps, the age differences. So that if you have an above 40 who is married without children, the emotional issues the person is going through is greater than the one who is in their 20s and doesn't have children, because the 40s is thinking of menopause, the 20s he has time. And so dealing with these two people are different. These are also
Thank you
the
so much.
soft parts of our work, that it may not be in policy, may not be in code of conduct. It is just something you need to learn. You pick them
Yeah.
up as you work, you become empathetic, you network and pick from people, and then you
Mm,
put it together. So, to answer Mr. J's question, it is by having it in policy, consistently implementing it, by
mm,
educating the managers to understand it, by being fair through the policy, and then also
mm.
bringing in these soft things. I went the interview I attended with my 7 month pregnancy. They gave me a chair to put my foot on. I was
Wow.
given a chair, yes, to put my foot on, and it felt so good. So I told
I'm
myself, if
telling
these
you.
people, when I give birth, I'll go back there.
Wow.
Then another person in my same situation goes for another interview, and you start hearing the Onimo is pregnant, she's pregnant. Then it's wahala. So that's the bit I'll add to it. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Yvonne. Listeners, I think that this discussion, there's so much to be said in the area of what we are talking about. Perhaps see that consult may want to grant us a part two of this discussion, so that because we've not
I
started, we
think
just
so.
scratched it, and then
Yeah.
so much is coming out. So we may have to have a part two of that. So I'm going to take the final words from all our panel members, and then we would bring our discussion to a close. Let me take from Solo so that we'll end with Lizanne. Sorry, Solo, you are muted.
Yes, I would want to first talk about the stereotypes that businesses have when it comes to women in their workspace. So, as business, we should be looking out for ensuring that there are no stereotypes or any form of discrimination, because as enshrined in the Labor Act, there should be equal employment opportunity for all. If a woman deserves it, she has to be given the nod to move on or have the position. The next I will talk about is about business commitment, leadership commitment. So, in all that we are talking about, yes, managers or supervisors can do. Yvonne mentioned that when it is at the top, how well do we cascade those initiatives or business commitments to the bottom line? And there must be, for me, a conscious effort from leadership to make sure that indeed, whatever we want to do when it comes to women in our business, we are committed to. Currently, in my place, we are making sure we push women in high roles which were hitherto male dominated. So I have a woman engineer manning a whole plant. I have, as a plant manager, I have women engineers from doing national service and all. And we are committed to making sure also that in all our hirings, women are prioritized in areas were in formerly were male dominated, to also exhibit their skills and potentials. You have women coming out from KNUST as engineers. Nobody would want to take them because they are thinking, or if I hire the person in 3 months, 6 months, the person may marry, do this, and go through these phases. But I believe that, and business also has that commitment that indeed, if the woman is good, even at home, she can still support, because there are now remote working conditions or working policies that businesses can put in place for people to commit to their work wherever they are. So what I would say is that as business, there should be that commitment by leadership to make sure that whatever they intend to do for women are followed through and not at the top hierarchy alone. And these are commitments that if you're able to push it well, it will be a great employer proposition brand for your business. Thank you.
Kojo, are you there?
Maybe Yvonne, you may take it up, or Liz.
I think we just lost Yvonne too.
Then maybe Liz, you can close it and then with your remarks, and then we end it. Yes.
Okay, thank you, our new co-host, Solomon. Yeah, so honestly, the call for gender equality, inclusion, and diversity is everyone's responsibility. It's not just left for top management and those who are at the top. And it is the responsibility of HR in partnership with other management members to create policies, systems, and interventions that will support women at work, like everyone has said. And we must remember that the best employers are those who support their workers. So let all the HR practitioners, all of us, and employers be intentional about it, be intentional about supporting women at work, because women's rights is also human rights. Once we come into the workspace and know that women's right is human right, we'll be careful, we'll be intentional about how we manage women at the workplace. Thank you. Yvonne.
Yeah, thank you for that. So I will want to end on the flip side. As the organization is putting together all these beautiful measures to make us work as women and give our best, I'm riding on what Lizzie said. We, the women, should also show results. We are there to
Sorry, my network has been a bit unstable. But I think Liziane is talking. Liziane, please proceed
No,
with your
I
final.
landed. Yvonne was not giving her final statement. I think we're losing her
Okay,
too.
okay. All right. So I
give
would.
your best.
Fine.
Give
Okay,
your
Yvonne.
best during
Sorry.
that time. If you are not fit to, your earlier results will show that when you were strong, you gave your best, and that you can't give your best now because of your condition. Let's not use womanhood, use reproduction, use babies as excuses all the time. Sometimes it does not just affect us, it affects the women who come after us. But when we show toughness, resilience, results, when we perform, even during that time, it makes them see that indeed it is just a condition and not an illness. And HR
Absolutely.
practitioners, we should make a conscious effort to put these things into practice and not just say them, and help the women to see that there are physical measures in place to help them undertake their reproductive responsibilities. There are policies, code of conduct in place to do it, and more importantly, managers are trained to handle that aspect of diversity. Thank
Thank you so much, Yvonne. I have on the line Sims P. Sim said, I'm watching live from Mankranso in the Ashanti region. Thank you so much, our cherished listeners. I would end by saying that, especially for managers, because usually you become the recruiting manager, then the HR person does the shortlisting and all of that, and brings it to you for further shortlisting. I recall an instance where I had done shortlisting and submitted some CVs to a manager in one of the places I worked. And prior to that, he made a comment, and the comment was quite discriminatory. So I had to point it out to him. This should be done on merit, or not on the fact that somebody is a male or a female or of some sort. Now, I was glad because after he was done with his shortlisting, he shortlisted two ladies and then a gentleman. But before that, he said something else, So just like Yvonne also mentioned, it's also important that those of us women who have the advantage or who are at the forefront, we set the pace correctly for the rest of the people after us to follow, so that then it doesn't become a flimsy excuse because of somebody's experience before. That is very important. I want to thank you so much, my panel members, for an insightful discussion like this. I know that you have a lot to say, and so just like I said, see that you may have to organize a part two of this for us so that we can delve deeper into the conversation. I also want to thank our listeners for joining in and asking your questions and all of that. Again, I want to thank CDAT HR Consult for putting this together, and then for the technical crew for the background work. Thank you so much for what you are doing in the HR space and for helping employers and managers to become proper people managers. Not only, I always say that, your technical expertise will not teach you how to relate with people. It is the soft
Yeah.
skills. I think one of our panel members spoke about it. And so it's important that as managers, we take interest in learning about some of these soft skills so that we can relate better with people. You have people resigning from companies, and that's the last time the two of them will be in any conversation. I don't think that is a very good lifestyle. Even after separation, relationships should continue. And so some of these things should be taken into consideration. Thank you so much, Yvonne. Thank you so much, Lizzie Ann. Thank you so much, Solomon. And to all our listeners, happy, 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 happy Mother's Day. Until we meet again, it is bye bye for now, and enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye bye.
Bye. Have a good
Bye bye.
evening.
Thank you.
Bye bye, everyone.
Hi, Solomon. How are you doing?
I'm good, and you? I think we are still live, or are we?